here.
Just want to make sure you know this is our composer, Dan. Not the composer. Our composer, Dan. Well, he's not the composer, he's the lyricist. There we go.
Yes, and Susie and I are singing this song a cappella, which is Italian for "we don't know the words." and since these are new words that Dan created, so we're just going to be singing sans music. And so anyway, I think you'll recognize the tune if you're familiar with Beauty and the Beast. Ready?
Yes.
He's the best, he's the best. Put your assets to the test. Fill your airbag, grab your settee. We will check the manifest. Columbus Zoo grew and grew, leaps and bounds like kangaroo. Try the pate, it's delicious. You don't like it, feed the fishes. He can sing, he can dance, but of course he knows finance. And his family here is never second best. We will unfold his ventures, take a glance, and then the case can rest. He's the best, he's the best. Broadway bound, opera board, let us list all his awards.
Please allow us to catch our breath. We won't go overboard.
Do we great? So far we like an African safari. No one's gloomy or complaining. Paddle boards are hydroplaning. He's the best, he's the best.
Sacred music,
Who could guess? Climbing mountains, scuba diving, part of his lifelong quest. Opera light, it took flight.
Like a Trinity acolyte.
If you sense here any sorrow, you try and rhyme Kilimanjaro. you can't do it, can you? No. He can sail
and scuba.
I think he helped free Cuba. And his family here really helps to make his day. For lollygavin, give a hand, but don't forget Russet. Billy Grove, Billy Grove.
But wait!
Oh, Methesco, Hilliard Foundation, Hilliard Art Scouts, the Columbus Zoo, Kiwanis Club, Columbus Foundation. There's no one we want to snub. Friendship Village, foundations, oh so many. They got far more than a penny. But how was he able to do all of this? All ships, they need a first matey, so don't forget his Katie. He's the best, he's the best, he's the best.
Performing for Willie, and kind of summarizes stuff in the song as well. So Billy, come on up, I want you to see this. So for that, we'll have it to see later, but it basically goes through all of Billy's career, from the zoo, from McDonald Investments, from Broadway. All the grandkids are on here, the Columbus Foundation. And you'll see Billy is now paddleboarding. He says, if this is going with the flow, wait until he hits the gas. Thank you, Dan. Part of Billy's celebration night, obviously his retirement, but a lot of it is around his community involvement. It's all intertwined together for him. But as they just mentioned in the song, there's so many organizations he's been involved with, on the board, volunteering, the Columbus Zoo, Opera Columbus, Methodist Theological School, Christine's Christmas, the Encore Musical Theater Company, Trinity United Methodist Church, Hilliard Arts Council, Hilliard Education Foundation, Friendship Village of Dublin, the Columbus Foundation, and the Kiwanis Club of Columbus. Where Billy used to perform a lot of those songs that Dan used to write back in the day, right, Billy? So a couple of those that are really important to Billy. One, of course, is the Columbus Zoo. So I'd like to invite Jerry Bourne, who is the longtime CEO of the zoo, and really responsible for a lot. I've had so many comments on how beautiful this is here, Jerry. And Jerry is one of the visionaries who has made a lot of this happen here at the zoo.
Probably didn't feel very good.
Thank you, Derek, and how appropriate for Willie, who's native from South Africa, to be having his event in the heart of Africa. Wonderful. It was, well, I think Billy told me 1988, I thought it was 1999, 1989. We had a process to recruit zoo board members where myself and one of our executive committee members would meet for breakfast and interview and find out about a person's interest. Well, we had breakfast with Billy, and I think the board member at the time was Harvey Glick, a local bank.
Harvey Glick, right.
Some of you may know. And we talked to Billy and listened to him and his interest. And when we parted from lunch, Harvey and I looked at each other and go, he checked every box plus more. This is just going to be a wonderful person to get involved with the zoo. And it turned out to be that case. We're a nonprofit organization, so we rely on community volunteers to help lead the governance of the zoo. And after Willie joined the board, many things began to happen. He was very involved in the framework for the creation of the Colo Society, which is an annual giving organization. And Colo was the first gorilla born in captivity anywhere in the world, and so we had this society named after him. Billy helped craft the framework for the Colo Society. Then he brought Go Wild for Opera to the zoo. And this was a collaborative community project between two nonprofits that people enjoyed. And I always liked those collaborations because I thought you bring people to the zoo from other organizations who maybe the regular zoo goers, maybe they're not. But the zoo's here for the entire community. So that was very successful. Then we get into, well, how can we raise more money? Ideas were needed. Billy was always good with ideas. So he came up with the idea of hospitality units at Zufari. Zufari had been around for any number of years, successful event, but Billy said that we can do better. You know, his purpose, we can always do better. So he came up with the idea of hospitality yards. What did it do? It generated more income for zoo programs. His enthusiasm and efforts helped raise significant funds for the zoo. Amazing amounts. He chaired the Zoo Fund Committee, the Strategic Planning Committee, and the Investment Committee. He was the first recipient of the Zoo's Leadership Award, which was created in 2003. He was the first recipient. Willie kind of generally was known, affectionately known among some of the board members, as the singing board member. Because of his vocal talent, which we all know. He generously gave his time, talent, experience, and financial support to the zoo. And forever the zoo will be indebted to having Billy Lobay as a board member. Thank you very much for your service to the zoo, but I have one more thing to share. And I want to share on a personal level. When I got to know Billy, both Lois and I, Billy and Katie, attended dinners, parties together. Billy gave me amazing financial advice. My retirement is much better because I listened to him. and we just have that growing friendship with Billy and Katie. Recently we had dinner with them in Florida. We hope to do it again sometime in the future. Well, one special experience I had with Billy was in 2003. He called me and asked me if I'd like to go to the Fiesta. Ohio State was playing the University of Miami. Katie couldn't go, and Billy said, would you like to go? I said, wow. We were going on an OSU plane, and he had the whole thing set up. Billy does. So we go to that, and not only was it an amazing game, as you remember, they won the national championship in overtime against the University of Miami.
And we climbed Camelback together.
Yes. Well, he said, while we were there, I have a brother in the Phoenix area, and we went and got his Ford Ranger, and we took off for Superstition Mountain and Camelback Mountain. And we drove around a little bit on the Apache Trail. So we had a wonderful experience, which I'll never forget. Billy, thank you for making that possible. Thank you for everything you've done for the zoo and all the organizations. Thank you.
near and dear to Billy's heart was his opera, Columbus. So Charlie Warner, who's a life trustee, served with Billy for many, many years on the board, would like to share some words about Billy as well.
Well, just as these wonderful words came out about the zoo couldn't live and couldn't be what it is today without you, so is true for the opera. There is no question about it. Billy was totally dedicated from the very beginning. I got some light opera in his system for a while, and then they merged with the grand opera, so-called. But he obviously, as you know, sings. I wish he would sing tonight. But his dedication to the art form is extraordinary. In the early years that I knew him, he was really pushing to have legacies come to fruition, and I know that happened to some degree, but it was not easy. There were times when, exchequer was a little low. Willie and others of us really came to bat for the opera. One of the opera fundraisers, I will call it, was Go Wild for opera at the zoo. And it was a fun occasion where we brought in really good opera singers to the zoo and raised some very, very good money. But Billy always had a business mind, and he kept us on track to try and make sure we balanced the budget and made it through, which in almost every case we did. There was also a major accomplishment, I will call it, that just happened in the last 3 or 4 years, and that is Billy really took on the endowment for the Cooper Bain Opera competition that we host. And I just read today, Billy, and I'm sure you did, that amazingly enough, we've now upped the prize to $10,000 for the winner. And we are on the international map. There were more than 300 people who applied from all over the world, including China, to come to here and compete. Now, they don't do that. You send in, of course, your voice ahead of time. And we have 5 finalists. I think it's 3 from the United States, 2 from abroad. And with over 300 applications, we are way, way on the map. So, and thanks to Billy, because he led the endowment campaign, and we were able to give it, I think we're over $500,000.
600.
The Opera Columbus has been a great success in recent times, and we hoped it always had been, but it wasn't always that way. But Bill and I are both lifetime trustees, and Billy, truthfully, there's no way we would be the opera we are today without you. Bravissimo!
So, moving to Billy's business career, Billy started in 1983 with the Ohio Company, eventually moved over to Advest, and in 1992 with McDonald Company, which eventually became UBS. So Billy was one company for almost 30 years. He has been at the top of his class through all those years. He has been consistently recognized in Barron's and Forbes as one of the top advisors in the country. He's consistently been on our recognition councils within our firm as one of the top advisors in our firm, so has always been at the top of his class. I wanted to invite our market head. We're lucky enough to have John Ramey here, who oversees Ohio, Michigan, Indiana. He's representing our senior management to say a few words about Billy. Thanks, John.
Put the mic right up next to your mouth, please.
Okay. I was told to move it away now.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Derek. It's so nice to hear the great things Billy's done in the community. The opera, the zoo, we know they wouldn't be where they are without Billy. I can tell you, UBS, particularly UBS Columbus, would not be anywhere near the same business without Billy Grobet. I think you look through, in any profession, to reach a status where they know you by one name sort of is the pinnacle. And within our firm, the name Billy is all you need to say. And it's always followed by when I say Billy, oh, I love him. No matter who I'm talking to, 3 times just today, when I told people where I was going to be, I said Billy. please tell him, give him my best. I love that guy. What he has meant to the lives of so many families in this room, how he's helped create better outcomes, it just goes without saying, as 150 people showing up proves. I think also what he's meant to the people that work alongside him, the development of their careers, what he's meant for their families, and the impact he's taken for generations. It's truly a remarkable thing that he's done. And then you look at what he's done in the community. And I think that shows when you come into this business and you're able to do and leave that kind of impact. It's really inspiring and something that we all applaud. So Billy, Katie, thank you guys. Best of luck.
Is this a little better? We're good now? All right. I'm not a performer like Billy and the rest, so I'm not on the microphone a lot. Next, I want to invite our other business partner, Billy's longtime business partner, Colin Parks, to share a few words as well about Billy.
Thank you, Will. I have had the blessing of being around. I've had the blessing of being around Billy for probably the longest, dating back to 1996. And many of you have obviously experienced Billy on a personal and a professional level. I have been blessed to be mentored by Billy. And that is maybe the greatest thing. Married my wife. But one of the greatest things that I've ever had. And I just want to share with Billy, thank you. I'm blessed to work with many of you because of my partnership with Billy. And our promise as a team is to carry that on at the highest level that we can. So thank you, Billy, Katie. I'm here because of Katie. Katie endorsed me back in the day. So Billy said I was lucky because he wasn't sure at the time. So thank you, all the best, and we look forward to seeing a lot of you on a personal level. So thank you everyone for being here.
Thanks, Colin. So we kind of have a little surprise for Billy. I've heard there's an artist who's known as a good singer in the house who maybe wants to say a few words.
Who, me?
Just a
I'll try my best. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here for my dad. I know that he has worked very hard his entire life, my entire life, but you know, as hard as he worked at the office, he was the one who stayed up and did all the last-minute projects for school with my brother and I, and he still carries that on with our kids as well, and it's astounding the amount of energy that one person can have, and as Dan says, the pain threshold is out of this world. I don't know if y'all know, he has a broken clavicle at the moment, and he's probably hugged all of you and not even winced. He had a broken foot when he walked me down the aisle. He's either clumsy or overly aggressive. But anyway, Dad, I wanted to get up here. I didn't really prepare anything. I just wanted to get up here and speak from my heart and let you know how much I love you and appreciate you, and we all do. And I wanted to say, you're my best foe. You're handsome and brave and strong. There's nothing we two can't face. If you're with me, whatever comes, we'll see that trouble never comes. And if someday, when everything turns out wrong, you're through with the human race, come running to me, for you'll always be my best girl.
It would be fitting if we just end there, but we do have a few more things. How do I have to follow Jessica Grove. So a couple more things, and we actually want to start the show. I'd really come up and share some words. But I want to share my own. I was hired by Billy in 2000 as an intern. He didn't need an intern, but took a chance, and I'm forever grateful for the opportunity. And so I just want to share a couple of things that I've learned from Billy over the years. A couple of things that stand out to me as I look back on the past 23 years. And when I think about Billy, I think about his ethics. He always puts the client first. He's always instilled into us to put the client first. And he's always said that it takes years and decades to build up a reputation, but it takes 1 second to tear it down. Billy's never been drunk, but he's always made the right choice, and he's shown us the way and been a great example. The second is his work ethic. I mean, it's said by everyone up here. I mean, he's gotten where he is today because he's a hard worker. He is always the first at the office, the last one to leave, and he set the example. And a lot of it is the energy. I mean, Billy has an amazing energy. It's a positive energy, but it's a high energy. He's always on the go. Even he made every minute count in a day, even if it was in the parking lot. I remember we were going to a meeting and we're out the door. I was barely out of the car, and Billy's like, "Hey, let's go." He's in the parking lot. He is ready to make every minute count. But I also say be careful about parking behind Billy in the parking lot. Because he backs out of the parking spot like no one I've ever seen. So maybe a couple bumpers in the day that high energy. And then, the last one is really just his care for clients. It's a genuine care. I know that. I actually thought it was maybe years into my career that I actually thought it was normal for all advisors just to hug all their clients. He was sincere. It was sincere. It was a hug before a meeting, a hug after a meeting. I just thought that's kind of what he did. But I've learned that that's not always the case, but that was Billy, because he cared about doing the right thing. And I know most of his clients, all the clients have become good friends. And that's just genuine. It's not anything with business, it's just who he is. And then the last thing is something I know I can never emulate, is he's an amazing storyteller. I think we'll learn that a little bit tonight, but I've heard so many stories over the years. We were just sharing some at lunch. We had a team lunch today, and I've heard many of those stories many times before, but they're always so interesting. And so there's a couple that stand out. One, I'm sure he won't share with you, but maybe asking about later on one, I hope he does. If you have time, I think I heard this maybe about 5 years ago about Billy's pet snake, which he lost in a bank. I thought I'd heard it all until I heard that one. So maybe afterwards at the bar, I would ask Billy to share that one. But the one I think that's more important is his journey to America in 1978. And he's told the story with $20 in his pocket, with Katie by his side, and then it's led to this. And he's often quoted for saying that only in America can $20 go this far. So Billy, it's in that gift of that, of your spirit of only in America. I'd like to announce today that your Bill Wealth Partners, along with the Columbus Foundation, has established a gift in your name. We have created a fund called the William T. Grove Only in America Fund. It is to benefit immigrants to America needing help to fund their own entrepreneurial dreams. And we started it. We've actually opened it up to many here, and people want to find a way to honor your legacy. It's been amazing, the outpouring of support, and we've actually raised over $30,000 so far. We know Billy didn't need a watch or chain, but the gift of giving was what we thought you would appreciate the most. Ladies and gentlemen, Billy Grove.
somebody calling you? Answer it. Who is it?
It's this wireless caller.
Oh.
Okay, how's that? Is that okay? Well, I have to use technology. I'm sorry.
Got to talk into the microphone.
I have to use technology. Is this on? I can do without it, actually. It's test, test, test. Can you hear me in the back?
He died.
Not really. Did I press a button? I think so. Susie, I forgot.
Test, test.
Oh, no.
It's on now?
Oh, yeah, that's so much better. Okay. Well, sorry about all that. I have to say that I wish my mom and my dad could have been here to hear all this. My dad would have thought this all very nice, and my mother would have believed every word. In seriousness, I'm just blown away and bowled over. Derek, Colin, Susie, Jody, well, I'll get to you guys in a moment. But nothing could be a better gift than my friend Dan McCormick writing a stupid song about me. We have performed so many of his parodies over the years. Just had so much fun. I love the one where he wrote a parody that he wrote for me about being the investment business. I really don't know my assets from a hole in the ground. That was a punchline, and we did this for some organization. I can't believe I sang that in public. But the fund that you're talking about, I had no idea. Most of this is a surprise. I said this is the first time maybe in my career that I'm at an event that I had nothing to do with organizing. And look how wonderful you guys all did. And it's just an amazing thing. So I would like to share with you just a little bit of history. I'm going to try to get through this. You know, as you get older, many of you will know that you do get more emotional, right? Katie says, I will cry at the Kmart closing. And it's getting worse, I'm telling you. But I want to recognize my friend Dwight Smith. I don't see Dwight around. Dwight started with an organization, a foundation called My Special Word. Dwight was a governing member of the Columbus Foundation and a dear client of ours. And he deals with children, and he goes around the world now, worldwide, even in South Africa with an organization that we connected together. And he challenged children to come up with a word that is special to them and to then live their lives according to that word. Well, I attended one of these sessions many years ago with Dwight, and I picked my special word for that day, and I use that special word every day. My special word is gratitude. I am so grateful for everything that I've been given. Okay, I worked hard, I had a lot of lucky breaks. I met the most wonderful lady in South Africa in 1976 after she had hitchhiked around the world and hitchhiked through Africa from Nairobi to Johannesburg. When I heard that, and this girl with this funny accent that I'd never met an American before, I said, I have to have this one.
He won.
She left South Africa after having been there 6 years. She got there in 1970. I met her in 1976. Went to Rio de Janeiro on vacation to come home to America. I met her in Rio de Janeiro and proposed to her. She said, why didn't you ask me in South Africa? We could have saved a lot of money. Met her family, my mother-in-law and father-in-law, Vernon Fark and Grace Starr. Pillars in this community, pillars in the Hilliard community. Katie's father was Associate Dean of the Vet School at Ohio State. And Katie's mother Last night we were at the Hilliard Education Foundation, where I was a trustee for a number of years, and where Jessica has established the Jessica Gervais Fund for the Performing Arts. And we went to their board meeting. They invited us because they wanted to make a little presentation. Some of you may know that last year Jessica came and did her Jess and Judy one-woman show for a benefit. And they told me, we might as well, since we're throwing out numbers, last night that fund now is $58,000 in it. And I said, well, I want it to be $100,000 so that no child in that school system with talent would be precluded from pursuing that talent for lack of funds. And that's the same with the opera competition. We were going to cancel that because we couldn't afford it anymore. And I said, we cannot waste the heritage and the memory of the people who started this and what this organization is doing. And from 5 life trustees on the opera, I raised $500,000.
Willie, tell them about this Sunday. I forgot to do that.
About what?
The competition this Sunday at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, the competition is actually this Sunday at 3 o'clock, and it's live broadcast around the world. It's just an amazing thing to see how that put Opera Columbus on the map, and it's like Charlie said, $10,000 in first prize. So I grew up in South Africa, grew up really poor. My dear friend and client, Gary Rains, an anesthesiologist here in Columbus, some of you will remember him, had bought a new 8-foot grand piano. He was a very gifted pianist. And he invited me over to come try the piano. And I said, gee, Gary, this even makes me sound halfway decent. And he said to me, Willie, since I was 14 years old, I wanted a piano like this. I said, you know, Gary, it's amazing how different our backgrounds are. When I was 14 years old, and this is the truth, I was wishing that I had a pair of everyday shoes. I had Sunday school shoes. I didn't have a pair of, because we all walked around barefoot in the poor community in which I grew up in South Africa. And Gary said, isn't America wonderful? We both got what we wanted. I want to introduce my children. Dora Jessica, you just met. Many of you know about her wonderful career. I want to introduce her wonderful husband. Dan, would you stand up for just a second? Dan, I have a wonderful example from stage parents about what a son-in-law ought to be like and what the father and mother-in-law ought to be like. They adopted me as their own and treated me as their own to the day they died. And Dan, I hope you feel the same way, because we feel that way about you. Because you gave us the two most wonderful. Would you stand up, Molly? Stand on the chair. Gavin, stand up. Lolly and Gavin. And it's just the joy of my life. In fact, they're the reason, nothing to do with Dan or Jessica or their theater in Dexter, Michigan, outside Ann Arbor. Those are the two reasons. We sold our place in Columbus and bought a house. 10 minutes from there. So that's where we will be spending our summers. I also would like to just mention our son Thomas. Thomas is in Japan. He lives in Osaka. And Katie and I just a month ago, traveled to Osaka, went up to Niseko in the Hokkaido island, a very northern island, and skied there for a week. And as Jessica mentioned, I had a little ski injury. Skied for that week, skied another week in Denver with some of my friends here, Doug Younger sitting there and others. And went to see the doctor last week, Thursday. Doctor said, your clavicle is broken. Why didn't you go see a doctor? And I said, well, I was afraid that might be the case, but I didn't want them to tell me I can't go skiing anymore. I thought I'd go see a doctor after I finished skiing. In South Africa, I worked for a very large construction company, and I was very blessed that I received a very good higher education in South Africa, up to the graduate level. And that company ended up buying a company in Troy, Michigan, And in 1977, Katie and I flew back to the States. We got married September the 4th. Because Tom and Judy got married, Katie's brother, Dr. Tharp, the veterinarian, and Judy got married on the 3rd. And so we said, well, they're going to get married, and it's Labor Day weekend, we might as well fly over and get married too. It happened, a double wedding. And we ended up going back to South Africa, and a year later, September of 1978, immigrated to the United States. Didn't have a job here, lived on the farm, but Katie family lived on at the time. Her parents took me in immediately. I will tell you that I did construction work. I helped lay a pipeline across Elm Creek in December. That was cold work. I sold my plasma for $10 a go. And what else did I do? I worked on a roadway during the night from the midnight to 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock shift in the morning, and then went to work during the day for the construction company. I had to do that because Katie was pregnant with Tommy. And we didn't have any insurance, didn't know how we were going to pay for this baby. When we arrived in Michigan, the company from South Africa had called me and said, we bought this company, would you like to come back and work for us? When we arrived in Michigan, January the 1st, 1979, we had a car that was paid for with all the money that we could bring from South Africa. At that time, it wasn't much. And we literally had $20 left, 7 months pregnant, no insurance, didn't know where we were going to sleep that night. Red Roof Inn was $24. And we only had 20. My new boss took us in for the night. Make a long story short, Katie went to Beaumont Hospital, negotiated a $400 price for this baby. And this is how life works, folks. The head of residence, because Katie was a clinic patient at that time, the head of residence called me after he saw her the first time, and he said, I'm coming over to your house tonight, and I take real lime in my gin and tonic. We didn't have gin, we didn't have tonic, and we didn't have lime. I went to the neighbors and borrowed it. That man delivered both of our children, Jessica, Thomas first and Jessica, and became her godfather. His name is Dr. Lance Christensen. And to this day, a dear, dear friend. Isn't America wonderful? Only in America can $20 go this far. To have this relationship with all of you is just unbelievable. So I want to start with thanking people. Because remember I said my special word is gratitude. There is so much to thank for, but I think Derek mentioned the Ohio Company. There were people at the Ohio Company that took a chance on me that they probably never should have. A guy from South Africa with a funny accent, and they didn't know me from Adam. I didn't know anybody. And the Wolf family, founders of this very zoo, were the owners of the Ohio Company at the time. And I thank them every day. But I also thank our commitment in the community. At that time, I started getting involved with Opera Columbus as a volunteer, performing with the company, etc. And Katie joined the women's support group of the symphony. And they were going someplace, and there was a lady who worked at the Ohio Company. Her name was Marilyn Wendrick. Marilyn has passed on, but I want her to hear. About a month before she passed, I sent her an email telling her all the things that had happened and thanking her for this. She said to Katie, what's Willie doing? Katie said, he's in the basement, he's between opportunities. He's in the basement sending out resumes. Because we just moved to Columbus and was in a business venture that didn't work out. So for 6 months, I was back to nothing. You know, when we first arrived in Michigan, nobody would we couldn't see us, wouldn't give us a credit card. Now we're $50,000 in the hole, and everybody wants to lend us money. I said, America's an amazing place. So Marilyn said, well, I think you should definitely give us a call. Give me a call because I think you'll be really good in our business. And Katie said, well, what do you do? She said, well, I'm a broker with the Ohio Company. And so I had no idea what a broker did. we had a money market account, but that's about all I knew about investments. Okay, he said, you got to call Marilyn Wendrick on Monday. I said, I don't know anything about that. Well, I was desperate. I called Marilyn and arranged for me to meet with the national sales manager. He interviewed me and said, well, I think you'll be really good in our business. I said, well, can you explain to what you do? He said, I think you can sell ice to Eskimos. He said, and we can teach you all of the rest of the stuff. And that philosophy, I will repeat when I talk about Susie for a moment. But I will thank Marilyn Wendrick forever, but also if it wasn't for Katie's commitment to help raise money through this women's support group for the symphony, I wouldn't be standing here today. So people say, why are you so intent on this philanthropic involvement? And if I lived 10 lifetimes, I could never repay what we've been given through our involvement in the community. Maybe we've contributed a little, we received so much more in return. The more you give, the more you get. The more you laugh, the less you fret. The more you give unselfishly, the more you live abundantly. The more of everything you share, the more you have to care. The more you laugh, you'll find that friends are good and life is kind, for only what we give away enriches us from day to day. So with that, I want to say that at the Ohio Company, I embraced technology very soon. Yesterday, let's see, Grant Kurtz and Randy Burns were my managers at the time. Hello? Hello? Oh, yes. This phone was my first cell phone. So I'm in my third week in the business, and my friend Pat Doyle had on the side at the car business where, back then you bought the car and then you had a radio installed, right? And this is in 1983. And he had this car business, and he said...
Talking to your mic, Dad.
Oh, sorry. He had this car business where he installed radios, and cell phones just came out. And he said, you need a cell phone. I said, it's $1,400 for that phone. And it's hard. The box in the trunk of the car was $1,400. I can't afford that. He said, you can't afford not to have a cell phone. You need a cell phone if you're going to be a broker. So I finally went to his place and had this phone installed in February of 1984. And I made a phone call to a client I'd been prospecting on my way back to the office, and I made a trade that paid for the phone. I had no idea that this phone was still around. Yesterday, Jody said, do you remember this phone? This was in your desk when we moved from one to wherever. Why would you keep a phone like this? But that led us, it's kind of like an early adopter, right? And that's one of the things I think that really helped our team be successful, because we adopted technology from the start. And today we can do things in, where's Curtis? Curtis? This morning I had a meeting, my first meeting as a client at UBS, with Colin and Derek and with Curtis. And Curtis had all these fantastic reports. I said, do you realize that when I started with Lotus 123, to get a report like that together, it took me a week. You can do it in 10 minutes. Think about what has happened in our business. I say again, only in America. I do want to acknowledge and recognize all the institutions that you've mentioned, because I learned so much. Charlie Stearns, Prince of Village of Dublin, Dr. Ned Dwyer, how much I learned from you as president of the Methodist Theological School in Ohio. Those two capital campaigns, Jesus doesn't work alone, that you led and that I was privileged to participate in. How much did I learn from all of that? How much did I learn from all of the mistakes and the screw-ups that have been made? And that's part of where I feel my next half, the next part of my life is going to be, has to be. You cannot take the accumulated knowledge that you've accumulated over the years and not do something with that that's better. Dr. Stephen Julian, where are you? Stephen? Back there. We've had that man as our business coach for probably 15 years. And people say, why do you have a coach? Your team's at the pinnacle. I said, even Tiger Woods has a coach. And we wanted to go from good to great. And Stephen, you helped us as a team through difficult times, through the successes, helped us to become who we are today, and we'll be forever grateful. Stephen sends a monthly newsletter, and this morning's newsletter, this month's newsletter I just read before coming here, and he actually quotes me in his newsletter this time. He says that I quoted my father, but my father was such a wise man that if I have a saying that I think is a good saying, it's always my father told me that. And my father always said, give a man that's busy something to do and it'll get done. Give a man who's got a lot of time on his hands and probably the job won't get done. Willie it's Stephen's newsletter. The newsletter was titled Validating Work. And in the end, Stephen talks about retirement. And he says, well, in retirement, a lot of people retire and they think they're going to stop working. And I'm with you, Stephen. He said, I plan on retiring, continuing to work, just not getting paid for it. And that is our goal. Katie, I just want to tell you that I couldn't have had a better partner than you. And all of this. And I look forward so much to what we're going to accomplish in this last half. I turned 66, I told Katie I'm done with 2/3. I'm so excited about the last half. She said, Willie, that's not good math. I feel that we have more to accomplish over the next, who knows how much time God has given us. I'll be happy with another 10 or 12, 15 maybe. But there is so much to accomplish, so much that I've learned from all of you here. Now I just want to take a little bit of a side trip here, and I want to thank all of you for being here. Without you, our clients, and some of you are friends, you're not clients, you're welcome to become clients. But I want to thank all of you for the effort, but there's two couples that I particularly want to thank. The second furthest who came for this event today is Dr. Dick Hendershot and Sandy, sitting over there from Denver. To me. One of the things that I remember is she's an anesthesiologist and he delivers a C-section baby in the Philippines, is that right? And I said, as anesthesiologist delivering a baby C-section, you do what you want, what you have to do when you are sent on that mission. You do what you have to do. He did that. The furthest away, this morning I saw at my office Rusty and Judy Lemmer. Rusty and Judy, they came from Phoenix. She said when they got the invitation, they told me to take it right away. I wish that I had time to tell the story of each one of you and each one of our dear departed friends and clients. But I will say that there's not enough time. You've been standing a long time in the bars waiting for you. But this morning, Judy said, I said hi to her because I just finished Katie. The first time ever that Katie had been in a financial planning meeting with me was today. Now we're a client and we've got the best in the country to take care of us. But Judy stood up and with tears in her eyes, she said, "You changed my life." And folks, it was not something very complicated. Back then, this is probably in the very early 80s, Judy was the secretary, assistant. Was it Bill Russell or was it Mike? For Bill Russell at Opera Columbus. And I said, well, we have to have a pension plan for these employees at Opera Columbus. And so we set up a 503B plan. And I think I started Judy with $100 a month. And Judy said, that started a discipline that has led the two of them today to have the funds that they can just pick up the phone and buy an airline ticket to come to Columbus for us. So many of you have said so many wonderful things. And I wish that I could remember all of them. I'm so happy for the emails I received. I'm so happy for the box of cards that are out there. But I wanted to tell you that the folks that I work with at UBS, John Remy, Eric Puffenberger, Eric is on a trip. He was my branch manager. When we joined UBS in 2007, when they bought McDonald Investments, the branch manager asked me if I would interview for her this young guy that came from a bank as an assistant in the office. And I said, Kelly, I don't think bank people is good for our business. You want to hire investment type people. So I'll just humor me and interview him. Eric's not here now, but he made a point last night to stop by our hotel and spend an hour and a half with me to tell me that if it wasn't for my thumbs up at that meeting, that he would have never been hired, and Eric has had a meteoric rise in this business over the last 15 years. I did not do, we were driving here and I said to Katie, every one of these little things that you've told me that it made a difference in your lives, when we sat down at that first meeting or the second meeting or after, I said, I never really thought about making a lifetime difference. And when you get here 40 years later, and people come up and tell you that you've made a difference in my life, I don't know that I can overflow my heart with any more gratitude than that, because I'm thankful for each one of you. I'm thankful for each one of my team members, each one of the UBS folks who are here and who are not here. It's not always been an easy road, but always we've been treated with respect, always we've been treated with dignity, and I don't think you can say that for every company and every business. You heard Colin and Eric's story about how they ended up joining me. I'm going to tell you about Susie quickly, because Susie and I were both soloists in the choir at Trinity Methodist Church. That's how we got to know each other. Susie obviously soprano, and I was the tenor soloist for 30 years in that church. And I needed an assistant in 25 years ago, whatever the year was, and Susie needed a job. And I said, well, why don't you come in and let's sit down? And she said, really, I sing songs. She's got a master's in vocal performance. I said, well, I know the discipline that it takes to get through that kind of a program. And that's what we want. Plus, you've got the passion, you've got the attitude, the skills, I can teach. She said, I don't even know what a spreadsheet is. Today, 25 years later, I don't know what we would have done over all these years without Susie. Thank you for everything. And thank you for the movie. Susie and I together sang at clients' children's weddings, sang at clients' parents' funerals, together and separately. I have a list. I asked her, give me a list of all our clients that passed away since you joined me. I think there's about 35. Oh my goodness. And do you know that in every case of those where there is a client that passed away, if they have children or grandchildren, those children and grandchildren are with us. We named our building Muirfield Wealth Partners. You probably wonder why. Well, that's where I started my career, really. It was in the Muirfield office of Advest, along with a fellow by the name of Bill Sepra. Bill is not here tonight, he's enjoying the Florida sun. But for years, Bill and I talked about putting our practices together, and I always said, Bill, we'll kill each other because you can only have one alpha male, you can have two. And 3 years ago, we actually put our teams together and we went back to our heritage, and that's why we are called Muirfield Wealth Partners. And this is the picture here. I think there's 16 of us there. We are blessed that we have just been named in November last year as one of the top 100 wealth advice teams in the country. My teams here, I shouldn't say this, but I'll say that we were actually number 15 on the Forbes list. in Little Columbus, Ohio, folks. You guys are amazing, frankly. I have been very visible, as they have mentioned. I've been on all of the councils and what have you, and the only reason I know is because I've been standing on the shoulders of those giants that have made me visible. The final analysis is all about how do we leave this world? Where do we go from here? What contribution can we make? And some of you asked me that, and I'll finish by saying that I am so grateful that I can exit this business at the top of a career when I didn't have shoes at 14 years old. That's just an amazing thing. And in The Wire, we had actually did a seminar at Methesco for educating our constituents, and record that seminar only in America, using my story for that. And I think, if I think back on all the wonderful things and the wonderful people, I wish I could name you each. I have all of your names down, but we'll be here at midnight if I actually do my whole speech. I'm just grateful and gratified that at this age, I'll be 74. Most people have been retired 10 years by now. If you love what you do, Stephen, at the end of your newsletter today, you'll never work a day in your life. Well, I might have worked 5 or 6 days, but no more. So I am gratified that I'm leaving this place and leaving all of you with the best in the country. The best in the country.
Oh, God.
I'm just going to point out a few people. Marlon Wyman here, her husband, Milt, passed away recently, and Marlon was Katie's father's secretary at Ohio State, where he was associate dean of the vet school for how many years? I can't remember that many. And Milt, her husband, was also a veterinarian teacher with Katie's father. We have a music stand that's made out of walnut wood from the farm that Katie and Tom were raised on. And Milt Wyman and Dr. Farb, my father-in-law, made that for me. And that's a place of honor in my house. I can go through here and I can give you one by one. Where's Bill Riyadh? You know, who would go to a trek, the Inca Trail to Machu Picchu with Bill Riyadh, of course. Doug Yanker is going to be doing a trek in Greenland with me in August. I can go on and on, the things that you people, nothing to do with investments. And I think that is certainly, from my perspective, that has made me love you all. Because there is not a person here that I can say that I do not feel so close to personal relationship. Art Coleman, you honored me being here today. Art Coleman is in Columbus probably the mayor of the investment business. And you took the time to come here tonight. The oldest. Appreciate it. I can go on, Jim Brody, Christina. My doctor, where are you? He came because he has a disability with you. With that, I'm going to say enough said, and thank you again.
Cheers!
I am not on the program.
Uh-oh.
I went to high school with Katie, Hilliard High School. We have an elementary over there, middle school, named after her mother, Grace Tharp. I have a thing that I tell my real estate agents. Go out and give yourself away. I tell that to undergraduates in the Delta Tau Delta fraternity. Go out and give yourself away. Now, don't do it if it's going to cause you academic problems. Don't do it if you can't financially afford to. And don't do it if you're going to get in trouble with your family. There is no one, no family in Central Ohio has lived up to that motto, giving yourself away, than Katie and Billy Grove. Whether it's education, school systems, music, youth, churches, it doesn't matter what it is. When people call upon them and ask them for help and support, they don't know the word no. They learned that from Katie's mother, I think, and probably Billy's family. Tonight, we celebrate Billy, Katie, and their family for not saying no and always giving back to their community. Congratulations, Billy, Katie, and all of you.
Thank you, everyone. The bar is still open. Hang around, tell stories with Billy. Thank you so much for coming. Billy, thank you.